Hello, hola, buenas. It is the Chancleta Generation Podcast once again. So, welcome to season 6, guys.
Nice.
I hope everyone had a great summer, and we are back again. Getting all this stuff together for you guys. I can't believe that we're still putting stuff together for you guys after 5 seasons. It's been super fun. I thought that, we'd just do the first episode and then nobody would listen to anything. And actually, people, you guys like what we're doing. So
that's awesome.
Yay, people, you really like us. Yeah.
Feels good, huh?
Yeah.
When you're heard.
So anyway, I am Clemencia, a Latina business owner and founder of Moira Studio, an agency that speaks to Latinos in the US because everyone deserves good advertising. And Ceci can't join us today. She'll be back on the next episode. But I want to get started on talking about something that I may know a little bit about, but also it has been making the rounds in a lot of our circles. And I'm sure that you've been reading more and more about this because obviously the economy has been in everybody's mind. Mm-hmm. And Latinos have been starting businesses at an accelerating rate, especially Latinas. And
Yay! Let's celebrate that.
Yeah. I know. Awesome. And one of the things that, obviously I know a little bit about this, but as Latinos are starting more and more businesses, and also coming into places of leadership, they're, becoming more CFOs and C-suite people and, higher level managers and things like that. Just because we're just awesome people and we are, moving on up.
Yeah.
We are facing some challenges and hurdles in this journey. So to help me unpack all of this, it is my dear friend and fellow entrepreneur Latino, Jordi Mullor. Yay!
Yay! So happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I've been waiting to be here.
I know. Thank you so much for coming.
I was like, Clemencia really knows a lot of Latinos. So.
Not that many Latin entrepreneurs. So I know that you and me were sort of like the only people in some circles.
Correct. Yeah, that to be clear. Yeah, but yes.
Yeah. So a little bit about Jordi. He is from Veracruz, Mexico.
Orgullosamente.
And he is the CEO and co-founder of The Rebellion, which is an organization that focuses on enabling decision makers to be more impactful leaders through immersive experiences like extreme stuff.
You're not even reading that. You're memorizing.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing some extreme sports stuff, right?
We are. Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit, but yeah, hopefully one day you get to join us. I'll get to do something cool with you.
Ay, Dios mío. I'm not jumping out of an airplane. I already did that.
Yeah.
And it's scary. But maybe de pronto. So Jordi's journey to entrepreneurship has started playing tennis in Oklahoma and then went on to grad school in Boston.
Yeah.
And in between, he did some agricultural farming in West Africa.
Just like everybody does.
Exactly, right? Just West Africa. Yeah. And then you are part of a financial services company in the Boston area, where he is currently. So
which means I'm still in the Boston area, not in the financial services company.
Correct. Yes. So in this financial services company, you experience the sale and purchase of the company?
And many others after,
Oh.
Yeah,
it's and you have
unique.
Survived.
I have to say, it's something unique. I think a lot of people don't go through that, and to see it in and out, especially as a Latin person, it's interesting.
I mean, I didn't have an exit plan I mean, not even like as a little bit like of a thought or a concept in my mind until like just a few years ago.
Correct.
I didn't even think of one. I was just like, well,
hey, well, we're Latinos.
Keep doing this until I
our
die.
Kids and then like keeps going, right?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the reasons why Jordi started the rebellion is because he strongly believes in grassroots movements. Me too. Policy influence and the responsibilities that business leaders have to give a voice to those who don't have the privilege to get theirs heard. Yes, yes, and yes. And Jordi constantly advocates to eliminate inequality at all levels, combat climate change, actively promotes women's empowerment. Yes! And fights to eliminate systemic discrimination and racism. Oh, no small thing.
Which I mean, honestly, for you and I, it's kind of like common sense. Like I think a lot of people I don't want to even take credit for this, but it's just common sense. Like it should just be the way things are done.
Sounds like common sense, but it is not.
Yeah. But it makes it easy. It makes it easier to fight for it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's something that we are all experiencing, but something that hasn't sometimes come to front of mind.
Correct.
Sometimes it's like, we did this episode a couple of seasons ago, or maybe last, I can't remember. It's a lot of episodes. One of them was like, why do things feel so hard sometimes? And it's just like, you think that it's just like that you're not working hard enough or that you're not good enough or whatever. And sometimes it's like, no, honey, it's systemic racism.
Yeah, like I think just there's a lot of pressures that push Latinos and other minorities to not be able to progress in both corporate and business world, which is kind of what we're gonna focus today. But besides that, there's a lot, right? But I think what happens too is even within sometimes the Latin community, we're not aware, and we just take it as the way things are, and just kind of like another hurdle that we have to get through to succeed. And one thing is acknowledge it, and then two is like act and plan for it. But not acknowledging and not planning for it is kind of like stupid at this point, right? Like you have to really consider these factors. Yeah. So this is one of the things that we're gonna talk about today, and we're trying to bring some awareness to some of the challenges. We've talked a lot about a lot of different challenges, and there's still going to be a lot of different challenges that we can talk about. So this is one, like I said, a lot of Latinos are starting businesses, and from the data that I've read, lots of articles on this, and one of the main hurdles that Latino entrepreneurs and business owners have is access to funding. Correct. Yeah, that's true. Let's unpack this a little bit. Yeah, I mean, so you're 100% correct on that. But first of all, it's one of the hurdles that the Latino community faces, and I think it's because of two main reasons. One is those folks, institutions, but the individuals actually providing some of the funding, first of all, are dealing with a demographic that is not part of your ecosystem at that level, right? So the folks at the top level of funding, that they are just not used to see first folks like that. And second, most importantly, to understand some of the business plans that the Latino community have, which are different. Sometimes the scale is different, sometimes the prospectus is different, and sometimes the mentorship needed is different. So that is, I think, two of the main reasons. Now, those are only hurdles. I think one of the things that I want to point out too is it's something that you can get over. There's resources out there that they help not just small businesses, but starting or to think of an idea to start a small businesses, and the focus on minorities and Latino communities, especially in the US. So it's a hurdle, but it's not it shouldn't be the determining factor. It's just something that we need to, not a deterrent. It should be something that we just are aware when we start a business. Just thinking about I'm sure you faced it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Just thinking about my own experience and many other people's experiences.
Yeah.
You know, Latinos, even though they might be like third, fourth generation, maybe, you know, they've either lived in a majority Latino community. Maybe they're the first ones to graduate from college. Maybe they're the first ones to start a business. You know, there's a lot of firsts. Maybe they're immigrants. There's a lot of firsts in our community. And so I sometimes, like, the way I see it, especially as a woman in business, it's like, I didn't grow up with a network of a bunch of powerful people or people that are connected to other powerful people that could, you know, help me out in either like advice or access to more funding or access to resources in general. And so when, you know, and as I'm thinking about this, like the you know, people that grow up with all these like networks of friends or friends of friends or other families, or your father has, you know, this other friend, or, you know, a network, or like people like get grandfathered into their family's network kind of thing.
Correct.
And then you don't have access to that, and so like it's hard to just start from zero when you're already an adult. When you're already like really trying to get things started, when you're like, you know, really trying to hit the ground running, it's like, oh, who do I go to?
I mean, you mentioned so many truths in there. For some reason, the Latino community, we also don't talk about money. Like, it's one of those things that even between our networks, it's almost like a taboo. And that is not exclusive of the Latin community, but it's definitely something I experienced working in financial services. But when it comes to network or like help from your networks, starting a business or collaborations or ways to help within your friendships is something that we do terrible. Like I think we could do so much better within the Latino community to do that. I think it's not about, this is my perspective. I do not believe it's something about I am successful and you're not. It's more that it's just part of our culture to not get out of our comfort zone and then like just try to find a way to help. And also ask for help. Like, that is something that we're just not typically used to compared to other cultures, which, I mean, you have experienced that experience too. Like, when somebody's having trouble with their business, you meet them for lunch, they just tell you right away, hey, I'm having issues with this, and you're kind of like, oh, should I tell them about my problem? Like I want to be strong. I got here by being tough and working hard, and no, like, this is not how it works. It's about like collaborating.
I don't want to seem dumb or incapable or you know, or weak.
I mean, it took a
You're totally right.
I mean, at least my experience was I was a workhorse all my life, right? I worked a lot, and to be able to kind of like to shine a light on myself, I had to work not just sometimes smarter, but more. And when you transition to being or try to start a business, it's kind of like it has to shift completely into, it's not about working more, it's about how can you connect to people that can help your business and your idea, and hear people that are honest, which sometimes it's in people in the Latin community, sometimes it's not in the Latin community. And we'll talk about that too, like the type of networks that we need to expand as a demographic.
I hear you. Sometimes the answer is not working harder.
Exactly. Sometimes the answer is not working harder. And I think in the Latino DNA, we have that, right? Like, we work really hard. So, and I'm proud of that. But it's not just that.
Exactly. Yeah, so if you were to, you know, if you were to give some of your insight, like, how is it that you started building your network as an entrepreneur, Latino entrepreneur, or just entrepreneur in general?
Yeah, I think I'll tell you a big mistake that I did myself at the beginning, and then and I'm sometimes still do because it drives me. It's very appealing, but it's trying to just like go outside your current locally regional community and try to like just go and conquer the world, right? Especially in an internet world where you can start having clients anywhere and when you can just sell anywhere, it becomes like really tempting. If I would be starting today, I would refocus almost all my time into the community I live in, and learn from it. Like the people that go to the coffee shops, or the coffee shop owners, the restaurant owners around where you go to eat, the clubs that are around you, not just from the YMCA, but there's like a racket club, and there's like a Taekwondo club, and there's like a ping pong club, whatever it is, it's around you. There's the soccer afternoon clubs, and just talk to those folks that own small businesses, because guess what? Chances are you're gonna start first with a small business, and you're gonna face the same issues as they are, or will do. So it's good to, I think the example I gave you earlier was, go to a coffee shop and talk to the coffee shop owner. Like, it's not just the coffee shop. There's part-time workers, full-time workers, bakery, vendors, suppliers, taxes, accountant, cash flow, COVID, everything happened to these
They can recommend you an accountant. They can recommend you
marketing, software, payment methods, credit card businesses, anything. And not any small business is how to say, there's something to learn about each small businesses, even if it's completely outside your industry. And so that's one thing I didn't do at the beginning, and I would certainly do if I could start over again. If you could like speed up the process of learning fast.
That's great advice.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, like expand your network. Like sometimes the Latino community, we tend to hang out, be around the Latino community. That's great. I think that's a core of who we are. We should never forget our roots. We should actually support our roots and the people up and coming from our community. It's key to changing where we are. But we should expand our networks outside the Latino community, because once you become a business owner or entrepreneur, you're dealing with just entrepreneurs. There's no like that much difference on issues depending on demographic. There's difference in challenges, but there's not differences on issues. So I highly encourage you have done that. I'm sure it helped you, and I'm doing that, and I've seen huge difference on the way I approach my business.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was going to say that I've gotten so much value out of being around other business owners and other entrepreneurs. And because, like, first of all, you can't talk to your employees about, your challenges or your clients.
Or your clients.
Like, none of those people. Yeah. And also, for me, it was like normalizing some of the challenges that I was having. Like, to me, some of it just felt like life or death situation, like the world is coming apart kind of thing. And, tomorrow I'll be, just destitute or whatever, so like just things that just seem like it's completely overwhelming. And finding other people that have been doing this for a while, and they're like, oh yeah, I've gone through already that like twice. And you're like, okay, well, and you're still here, so that's something. So that's one thing. And then another is the resources part, like introducing you to other people or helping you brainstorm on things. Correct. Or just like there's so many things that are just so enriching about the community. And maybe some people might not be willing to help you out, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that would. I personally wouldn't want another Latina entrepreneur to go through some of the things that I went through, and I'm happy to help.
That's exactly right. And I think something for people listening too is that there are already successful Latinos in your community, like they're being pioneers, right? And we're not the pioneers. We are kind of like opening and expanding the umbrella. But if you reach out to these folks, most likely they will say, yes, I'll meet you for coffee. Yes, tell me about your business. Tell me what you want to do. Because guess what? They understand fully the challenge you're going. Honestly, one of the biggest surprises when I transitioned to like start and become an entrepreneur was just how many like meetings I was able to get from people I never thought they would have time for me. And the idea is because they want to help.
Yeah.
And that comes from one, reaching out, and two, like networking with these folks before, right? So yeah, I think those two aspects that you mentioned are super important, which is belong to these organizations to like have peer-to-peer, or to just get to know other business owners, and then just kind of like get outside your comfort zone and start like networking. Not on LinkedIn. I want to clarify that. Like not social, like on LinkedIn is one step, but it's just not the same as.
No, like sit down and have a cafecito or do a Zoom call with people. Yeah. Last time we did too.
Oh yeah, true. Too many. We're like shaking after. But yeah.
Last time we were like blah 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 blah. Okay, otro.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Well, I mean, we're Latinos after all. But yeah.
Yeah, el bla 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 se nos da súper bien.
Muy bien. Yeah. By the way, I want to talk about, I mean, something you and I discussed just in preparation, or like just talking about this topic ahead of time, which is as we move in the corporate world, because there's a ton of us in the corporate world, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and not just Latinos, there's minorities as well that are just like climbing the ladder. And they get to executive positions, and not just C-suite, but like you said, managers, or like top managers, or directors, or managing directors. Is that we work so hard, and I'm generalizing, but we work so hard to get to those positions that to do the transition to like either start your own company or start your own organization, we have become laser focused in an area. And compared to other folks that are starting their businesses that didn't have to be laser focused in an area, they have become more generalists. So one thing I really want to talk about is that it's okay as Latinos to like move areas in your career and like adventure in other departments or just other expertises. Don't feel, and I'm not trying to sound like I know everything, but like don't feel like you're gonna lose your job, and don't feel like people are gonna see you less. I think that's a mistake we do on like a fear mentality instead of like a success kind of mentality. Eventually you'll need all of the skills or some of the skills, and then you'll hire the rest. But at the beginning, it's a solo for a while.
Yeah, because like you said, and this is like, you know, speaking to what I was saying before, it's like you work so hard to get where you get. And then, you know, the thought of losing that is like, it's terrorizing. It's like, it's like, I mean, it's like it's the scariest thing that you could ever imagine, like losing all the that you work for. And, you know, but other people that are not minorities do it all the time. Right, that's exactly right. Skipping around in their careers, like they went to school for one thing and end up doing something completely different, and then, you know, they work in like one industry and then they move to another, and like, you know, people are doing it all the time, especially like after COVID times. Like people have invented themselves a lot. Yeah.
I mean, one of the worst things I could tell my parents, and I'm 38 now, but one of the things I could tell is like, hey, I'm starting a business. They were like, what? Like, you're not gonna have stable income. What did you work for? What did you go to school for? Why did you get your master's? I'm like, God,
where did we go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, where did we go wrong? And I'm like, well, it's like we are like, so the Latino community has such a complex background and such a kind of like a feeling on different aspects of the U.S. economy that we have honestly kind of like a unique vantage point to start a business in many areas. So I would say don't be scared of that. And I think you mentioned it before. A lot of business owners that's in the Latino world or that start their businesses, they start because of the lack of opportunities, not because they want to. And most succeed. Or most stay in business for a couple of years and then they figure out or they find a job. But it's not the end of the world. I mean, unemployment is not like higher for Latinos than for white Americans. It's kind of like very similar right now. And why is that? It's because we're capable, we're educated, like we can find jobs. People know we work hard, but let's adventure also in starting a business. It's not it's not the end of the world.
I mean, at this point after, I know. I mean, at this point, after running this business for almost 10 years, I feel like I'm like unemployable.
Yes. Right now you're unemployable. You'll never be hired again. Yeah, that's
But
true.
like, I feel like I need to make this work. But anyway.
Oh my God! For those listening that cannot see her face, there's a lot of truth in her eyes right now. Anyway,
Ay Dios.
yeah.
But yeah, I agree. But like the thing is, one thing that I've seen, in corporate America and also in entrepreneurship is that us Latinos are trying to use the patterns and the templates that Anglo-Americans have used to go about their things. And sometimes it doesn't work for us because, like you said, we have our own unique viewpoint of the world. And so we want to do other things that are different or may not fit inside of that, pattern or template. We may be more sensitive to certain things. We may have a different mission, or we may be sensitive to other missions, and so it's like,
Yeah.
But we are encountering a lot of challenges because we may be trying to do things differently than the others have. So I don't necessarily think that we need to copy that template. Obviously, it's gonna be harder if we don't. But I still feel like there's a part of us that need to stay very authentic to us, to ourselves.
I agree with that. I mean, and our forget about the funding that we talk originally. Our challenges are different just as a culture. Like, I'll give you one example. And again, we're generalizing. Obviously, there's percentages in everything. But if you're a second or third generation Latin folk in the United States, most likely you'll have either your parents or your grandparents living in your same household as they age. Now, what does this imply? It doesn't imply that they have retirement covered. It implies that you are part of the retirement, and that you having a stable income is part of the retirement of the great grandparents or the grandparents or the parents. And that is such a detriment to start a business, right? It's like, you don't want to lose that, because then it's not just me and my family, it's also the generation above.
The pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, and it happens everywhere, especially in Latin and minority communities. But it's just another hurdle to think and plan about. And I don't...
So sometimes you don't want to shake what is the saying? You don't want to shake the tree, or you don't want to...
Yeah, you don't know what's going to fall on the tree. Yeah, I know. So you don't want to shake the tree. But here it's one of those that the prospectus are higher. I'm not saying starting a business is for everybody, but it's definitely a possibility. And like you said, we're not in the same... we all not come from the same frame. Like, we're different. And we need to not just rely on each other, but support each other a little more than other types of demographics in the country. Okay, go ahead.
No, I mean, like, systemic barriers are there.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean that we are gonna be the victims. Like, we just need to be aware of what they are, and we can call them out if necessary. In corporate America, you should call them out.
So you touched two important topics there, and actually I used to do this a lot in my past corporate life, and somebody pointed out to me that was close to me, and it changed my perspective. So I have never considered myself a victim. I literally never. I think I've been lucky. I would say I was very privileged in Mexico of having a good education. I was able to play tennis in Mexico, which is a luxury sport, and then come with a scholarship to the US, which meant I didn't pay for college, which is such another luxury. That doesn't mean I didn't work hard through my entire life to get there, but I completely understand it's not normal. And then when I got to corporate America and I started like going up the ladder, so many times I would do what I would call the joke of being Mexican, and it's kind of like it was funny, but why would I do that? It was just like a defense mechanism to feel like included in rooms that I was the only people like myself. And
so you were calling attention to yourself for being a Mexican?
Well, I was kind of like making fun of myself. Right? And it was a way to like lower the barriers and everybody's okay. Like it's one of these jokes
so
that
they
nobody
felt
would
comfortable.
Say. Of course. And it was kind of like a disarming mechanism that I just naturally started doing. And then through time, one of my good friends said, hey, you don't have to make fun of that. And I'm like, I never stopped. It's kind of like I started when I was younger and I just kept doing it. And it I don't know why it made me feel good. But the reason why I'm saying this is like we're not victims. We're just products of the circumstances that we are in, and there's just ways to approach it. I don't think we can live as a community trying to like break these barriers if we always try to say that we are victims. Of course, there's systematic walls and ceilings that need to be broken, but we just need to acknowledge them and plan for them.
Yeah, but also it's like, you don't have to make other people feel good at your expense.
Exactly. That's exactly right. No, I mean, I'm just telling you, that was my way of kind of like subconsciously coping with it. But I never...
Because you still felt it. You still felt it because you were the only one that looked like you in the room.
Time. No, I mean, for all my corporate life. Like, for all my corporate life. So, but it was...
That's very interesting.
But it was, it was fine. And then the other thing is obviously through tennis, that has opened a lot of just different networks in my life. But I tend to be usually also the only Latin person in that community, which it's hard to navigate sometimes. But it also it's an asset. Like use it as a way to show your cultural background and kind of like your depth and your different vantage point. It's not a disability. It's an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, do you know how many times people are like, you should play golf? I'm like,
don't play golf.
Thank you.
Don't play golf. Yeah.
Thank you.
I tried for a while. I was like, this is not for me. Yeah.
Well, they're just like, you'll meet people there playing and like make contacts and whatever. But it's like, again, to me, it's about being your authentic self. So
correct.
You don't have to play golf to meet people.
Correct.
Just go out and see what you like. And I'm sure that you'll find other people that like what you like.
That's correct.
That you can network with.
Yeah.
Like if you like dancing, sure you can join some dance classes. If you like whatever, eating, I'm sure you find like whatever. Just like, be authentic to yourself. And that's the thing. Like sometimes I felt myself, in trying to like drive my business forward, like getting outside of myself and just like, who am I? Like, what am I doing? Kind of thing. And it's like, no, one thing is getting out of your comfort zone. And another thing is,
it's completely changing who you are, right?
Yeah, like, exactly. Or not being authentic to yourself.
Yeah. I think, this is a tough one. Like, you and I have both adventure outside our own demographics to build networks around business, because I don't want to say it's almost like part of the game, but it's just, we perceive the differences, the other side sometimes don't perceive the differences, right? So we've done it. What I think it's key is that as you go and move along, navigate this world, it's super important as a Latin person not to forget that you are Latin, that you come from this community, because you're gonna have to lend a hand eventually to somebody that needs it. And it's okay if sometimes the reason is because they are just like it's okay like to give permission to yourself to think that way. For the longest time I thought it was like, no, they need to like deserve this and be an expert, blah, blah. It's like, you know what, sometimes I need a mentor. Sometimes I just need somebody inside the community already to help because they are Latin, and that's totally okay. And eventually you'll find out if they're good or not, but don't stop it just because they're Latin, right? Like, we're Latin and we need to help each other at some point. It's okay. And by the way, help other people too. It's just that saying no just because we're Latin, it's kind of like, I hate that now. Yeah. I hope that relates to you too, right? Like,
oh, totally.
Yeah. I mean,
but also, you know, I also hated the concept of like, I'm here because I'm a woman, or I'm here because I'm Latina. Like, you know, that I also hated that, but also at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna write this out, because for so many years I have not had the chance to sit at this table, and if they're gonna give me the chance, I'll show them why I'm here.
Correct.
It's not just because of the color of my skin. I will be able to stay here at this table, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like once you're put in a position of power, do something with it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter how you get there. It's just like do something with it that supports. Like for me, it's more about equality, not just of opportunity, but of reward. And that is a key part of it. But yeah, it's do something with the power that eventually you can have, and that just promotes a little more equality amongst everybody. It doesn't have to be only Latin. There's definitely a lot of minorities in the US that also get hurt, and we can do a lot more about it. And by the way, I do that through the rebellion, like part of. Yeah, I mean, I would do the service to myself, but I'll tell you what we do. But like, one of the things is, while we focus on leadership specifically, it's because that's where we think more decision-making impact happens. I'm a big believer in advocacy and policy making and grassroots organizations, but the big scale of decisions happen at the top, and that's where we think we can have a bigger impact, like by changing the perspective on decision makers on what's in their heads, what they're actually able to do. Including
and some of these decision makers want to hear from us because we have a unique perspective.
Different ideas, better, or sometimes this is something then. Like you were about to say the word. They don't have to be better ideas. They just have to be equal ideas. This idea of like we can have better ideas. No, it's not a competition. It's just you just need to have the same amount and the same quality of ideas, but you have to have the space to give them. And that's why it's important. If you have better ideas, that means it's not equal. That means they are following the better idea. But if your idea is equal as others and they get selected, then you're equal. So that's kind of like my perspective on the leadership inclusion.
That's a good perspective. Yeah. And also, if you were hired on a, higher management position or like a C-suite. Yeah. There's a reason why you're there.
Correct.
And like people want to listen to you and follow your own path.
Yeah. I don't know when it happened to you. Like, did you had a switch at some point where? And I'm just gonna ask you a question. Where you went from like being the person that works a lot and being influenced on to like actually become a little bit of an influencer on the world around you. And I think that a lot of, especially Latin folks in the corporate world, they that go up the ladder, they sometimes don't realize that they are not now in a position of being influenced, but they are in a position to influence. And that is a key part. Like I would just ask everybody listening to this that is in that position or know somebody, ask for the favor. Ask for the connection. Give the connection. Give the favor to other Latin folks that are trying to help. Like it's key for equality. Yeah.
It was there was a process for me to realize like, I had power. Because it wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'm hiring people and I'm paying them. It was like, that didn't mean power to me. That was just like a collaboration and kind of thing. Yeah. Teamwork, having more hands, do more bigger things. But I was like, I was interviewing someone for a job and they said, at the end of the interview, they even said like, I realized that I'm not, very qualified for this job. But one of the reasons why I wanted to have this interview with you was for you to give me your take on like, as a woman of color doing advertising, like, can you give me some insight? And I was like, oh God, this is amazing. And I was like,
they're being looked at.
I didn't think that somebody would want to hear from me on my take about something, of that important. To them, like as a young person, starting out, and then I was like, I do have this, with power comes responsibility.
Yeah.
And so it's like, not only do I have the power, but I also have responsibility to be a good example, help people out and, help people that, to not have the same challenges that I did. And so that's like, it's a really interesting dynamic because you're so focused on getting to the thing, getting that job and getting that salary and getting this thing that then you're just like, oh wait, there comes these other things with it, you know?
Yeah, there's a common phrase for tennis that I think Billie Jean King said, it's like pressure is a privilege, and it's the same. It's like once you get to this position of stress and families depend on you because you have employees, blah blah, it's a privilege. Don't feel like it's a nightmare or a headache. It's not everybody gets to have that, and that's quite the benefit of starting your business. But it's hard. it's not an easy, I guess, sea to navigate. But
we're also paving the way. Yeah. Like I said, there's not that many people at the table that look like us.
Yeah.
We're paving the way. It's like, what are we doing with it? What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
And that's it's maybe it's pressure, but it's also a really beautiful thing. It's like, what are we gonna do with it? We could do with it whatever we want.
Yeah.
And maybe we can change some paradigms. Maybe we need to break the mold and start a new mold. That kind of thing. You know me. I'm always
at the Rebellion, I'll share an internal conversation that happens specifically to this. So our experiences cost money, right? Like people that go to this thing, they have to pay a lot of money for the average person. And one of the conversations we've been having is, should we accommodate the pricing model to the income of the person somehow to make the experiences more accessible, even though they're in leadership positions, just because we want to encourage more diversity in these experiences. And we know money is one of the aspects.
Access to funding.
And because we know that by literally creating better leadership, but there's a threshold of money to access better leadership, we can be part of the problem. So this is something that we've been considering internally. We haven't figured out how to do it, but it's something we're very, very conscious about it. And I think you asked me, how can we have more Latino CEOs? I think we just need to have more people that venture and know that there's a network of people that are willing to help. If any business fails, the majority of businesses are gonna fail. It's okay. It's totally okay. You can just try to adventure and enter the workforce eventually. But just like you would tell to any kind of demographic, if you don't try with your own assets, which is your community, your knowledge, and your network, you're never gonna know exactly what you're really made of. And coming to the US, I'm not from here originally. I always thought getting a job and buying a house and kids, that was the dream. That was what you're supposed to do. Oh my God, that died very early. It was like, what do I do with the next 45 years of my life, right? So, and I'm sure there's a lot of people like me out there. I've already got the job. I have the opportunity to do more. Well, start a side business. That's not a bad idea. Or start helping.
I was gonna say that.
Volunteer your own expertise to other folks. To start doing something more with your own skill set. And I think that's kind of eventually we can have more Latin CEOs in this country.
Yeah, because
hopefully you and I can help others.
We got what it takes, honey.
I hope so. It depends. I'm counting on it.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
This was super, super interesting, Jordi. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you?
My email is jordi@therebellioncg.com, but also just go to our website, which is the Rebellion Impact Group, and we have all kinds of contact there. And we do focus on experiences, immersive experiences, like you mentioned before. They are tough. We believe in a concept of having a challenging physical, mental activity in the mornings, and then supplement that in the afternoon with some new leadership content. So we're excited about our framework. But yeah, go to our website and send me an email, and that's the way to do it.
If you are a person out there, Latino or not,
it doesn't matter,
that is in a leadership position and you're interested about making more impact in your corporation,
yes,
get in touch with Jordi, because he's gonna change your life.
We'll try. We'll definitely try.
In a bunch of really exotic
places.
Locations.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, sounds really fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this. It was great.
This was super fun. And if you missed out on anything and want to get in touch with me and have some follow-up questions or whatever, you can get in touch with us at Chancleta Generation.
Yeah.
This is on Instagram and the X Twitter and the TikTok. And if you want to email me, I am at clem@chancletageneration.com.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Jordi, and thank you for everyone out there for listening to our very first episode of season 6. If you like this podcast, let me know. I want to hear from you. Subscribe. Give us a rating. Tell us if you hate it or not. Just tell me something. All right.
See you. Bye bye.
Muchas gracias.
De nada. Gracias a ti.